Honourable Member for Haliburton, Kawartha Lakes Brock.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise today to speak in support of Motion 148, which reads that, in the opinion of the House, the government should recognize the importance of educating Canadians about the consequences of impaired driving due to alcohol, drugs, fatigue, or distraction, which each year destroys the lives and health of thousands of Canadians by designating the third week of March each year National Impaired Driving Prevention Week. This is a very timely and important issue that I believe all my colleagues in this House should be seized of, and I thank the Liberal member from Saint-Léonard, Saint-Michel for his dedication to this matter and diligence in bringing this motion to the House. We have for a long time known about the consequences of drinking and driving thanks to advocates like Mad Canada and police and community initiatives. Drunk drivers have now become the pariahs of society, and rightfully so. Statistics suggest the efforts made in the fight against impaired driving have saved 30,589 Canadian lives since 1982. Despite this number of lives saved, Transport Canada reports a total of 39,487 alcohol-related fatalities on Canadian roads since 1982. Impaired driving was the leading cause of driving injuries and deaths in Canada up until a few short years ago. In the fall of 2009, a milestone in human history occurred and slipped by almost unnoticed. For the first time, Madam Speaker, cell phones around the world were exchanging more data than phone calls. The preference for texting and emailing on cell phones has risen steadily year by year since 2009. And alongside this rise, so too has the incidence of injuries and deaths from distracted driving. The message, Madam Speaker, is clear. In my home province of Ontario, one person is injured or killed in a distracted driving collision every 30 minutes. Drivers who use handheld devices are 4 times more likely to get into crashes serious enough to cause injury. Even when drivers use hands-free devices, they are less aware of the traffic around them. They tend to react more slowly and, in fact, may not detect the danger at all, failing to see up to 50% of the information in their driving environment. Drivers who are texting are 23 times more likely to be involved in a crash. Distracting driving is now the #1 risk on Canadian roads, with 93% of rear-end collisions having distraction as a contributing factor. A study found that in 80% of collisions, the driver had looked away from the road 3 seconds prior to the crash. Checking a text for 5 seconds means that at 90 kilometers per hour, you've traveled the length of a football field, blindfolded. Distraction is a factor in about 4 million motor vehicle collisions in North America every year. 10% of fatal crashes, 18% of injury crashes, and 16% of all police-reported motor vehicle traffic crashes were distraction-affected crashes. Almost half of all people killed in collisions where a teenager was distracted were teenagers themselves. No text, no tweet, no call, no post is worth a life. In my riding, on October 24th, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry held an environment blitz on Highway 35, just north of Norland, in the city of Kawartha Lakes. Conservation officers said the road check focused primarily on moose hunters traveling back from their camps in Minden and Bancroft. Numerous drivers throughout the evening failed to stop, even though officers were holding stop signs, were wearing reflective gear, and had 2 vehicles with emergency lights flashing. One driver blamed their dog as a distraction, while another, completely oblivious, slammed on the brakes at the last minute and skidded right by the officers. It takes just a few seconds of distraction to kill a father, a mother, an aunt, an uncle working on the side of a road. Earlier this month, at the end of the province-wide campaign, Vancouver police, Speaker, were astounded after pulling over a driver with a tablet and phone taped to the steering wheel. During the campaign, Vancouver police issued nearly 2,000 distracted driving tickets in just 1 month. Since the beginning of January, Montreal police have handed out more than 10,000 citations to motorists for using their cell phone while driving. According to police, distracted driving remains, again, the #1 main cause of collisions on roads in Quebec. From 2002 to 2016, 32.9% of fatal crashes and 41.7% of collisions leading to serious injuries in Quebec were linked to distracted driving. In Edmonton, distracted driving infractions were up nearly 60% in the first quarter of this year. In Saskatchewan, during the first 2 months of the year, distracted driving charges were up a staggering 197% over the same period in 2016. The year before, 5,700 collisions were linked to distracted driving, resulting in 36 deaths, over 800 injuries, and thousands of families in Saskatchewan whose lives have forever been changed. Last year, more than 140 Nova Scotians were killed or involved in a serious collision due to distracted driving. In my home province of Ontario, it is much the same. The Ontario Provincial Police have said that in its jurisdictions, car crashes caused by distracted driving have come to outnumber those caused by intoxication or speeding. As of September, 1,158 collisions were due to drunk drivers, 4,700 were due to speeding, and just fewer than 6,400 were due to distracted driving. Tragically, deaths related to this driving epidemic are on the rise. As of August 28th, 47 people had died because of distracted driving, which is a 16% increase from the same time last year. Another 26 lives would have been taken by distracted drivers before the close of 2016, marking it the 4th year in a row that distracted driving led to the highest number of deaths on OPP-controlled roads. Over the summer, Ontario highways have been the stage for a series of horrific and deadly vehicle accidents due to distracted driving. On May 11th, 4 people died and 2 others were seriously injured in a 7-vehicle pileup on Highway 401 just east of Kingston, Ontario. The driver of a transport truck approached a construction zone and failed to stop, crashing into vehicles at the end of the traffic queue. The impact was such that a vehicle was crushed and became engulfed in flames, killing the family trapped inside. On July 27th in Georgina, on Highway 48, not too far from my riding, a dump truck hauling gravel collided with 5 vehicles, having failed to slow for stopped traffic. 2 died at the scene. 2 others, including a 10-year-old boy, were airlifted with critical injuries. 3 days later, on July 30th in Chatham, a 6-vehicle crash killed a mother and her son and seriously injured several others when a transport truck hit their trailer from behind, crushing it. The truck then mounted their pickup and pushed them down on the road into 5 other vehicles before stopping. The driver of the truck wasn't even paying attention, didn't even see the stopped traffic. The family was on their way home from a camping trip, Speaker. And just this past Halloween night, a chain reaction of collisions caused a 14-vehicle pileup that killed 3 people and left Highway 400 about an hour north of Toronto, littered with tangled, twisted metal, and a series of explosions that melted the vehicles right to the asphalt. While the investigation is ongoing, driver distraction is the leading theory for this incident. Another incident, which I fear will not be the last, a native from my town of Lindsay, Robert Griffin, while visiting his family in Oklahoma City in the United States, was out for a run on August 20th. He was killed instantly by a teenager who fell asleep going 80 kilometers per hour through a red light. Robert grew up in Lindsay, attending Heritage Christian School and St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic Secondary School. He loved sports, especially running. He was also an Army cadet and a reservist. He loved his community, he loved his country. He leaves behind a grieving widow and a 5-year-old son who miss him each and every day. Speaker, the time is now. We cannot wait any longer. We need to raise awareness. We need to get this message out. Distracting driving kills. It maims, it destroys lives, and tears families apart. Next year on Canada Day, though, 220 days from now, the government intends to legalize marijuana. This raises some very serious concerns from Canadians coast to coast to coast, and the police officers sworn to protect them. The irony is that this motion is raised by a member of the same government bent on speeding up legalization before the guidelines are in place and public education is placed. I don't really understand it, Speaker. We need to make our roads safer, not more dangerous, and we need to do that now, Speaker. Now, we all know education is the key, and Speaker, I'm pleased to take a stand and commit my support for this motion against distracted driving.
Hear, hear.